Okay, so last time when we were looking at tutorial sheet 1, we did question 1, right? We did question 1, and we also did question 2, part A, and part B. Okay, so in today's class, we'll continue from there. We're going to look at this part C, part D, and part E. Okay, and then for those who'd like to access some of the videos that I've made already for these other questions, I think question 4, so question 4 and question 5, I've already solved these ones, and I've uploaded the video on our website or our app, so you can access it from there. So in this lesson, let's focus on C, D, and E. Very simple concept. Okay. So we're trying to build our foundation in mathematics. Okay. So the first question today, they're saying expand each of the following expressions and simplify where possible. Okay. So expanding is very simple. Okay. Expanding is very simple. It's just basically taking whatever is outside the brackets, okay, and then you distribute it to what is inside the bracket. And then once you make your distribution, you just have to collect like terms, okay, or you group like terms together. And then once you group those like terms together, it means you have expanded and you have also what? Simplified. So that's what you're going to be doing on this question. So we'll start with the first one here, which is number 1 there. Okay, so here they're saying they have 3x plus 2 plus x minus 7. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So let's expand here. So we'll just be getting this 3, which is outside. Okay, we're going to distribute it to this x and to this 2. Okay, so it means that I'll multiply. Okay, I'll multiply 3 multiplied by this x, I get 3x. And then 3 multiplied by 2, I get what? 6. And then in the other bracket, we can take it as if we have a 1 outside there. So I'm expanding this one with the x and the one with the minus 7. Okay, so 1 multiplied by x, I still get x. Then 1 multiplied by minus 7, I get minus 7. Okay, and then from here, we have to group like terms. So I'm going to say 3x and x are alike. Okay, so I'll say 3x plus x, and then I'll say 6 and minus 7, they are alike. So it will be plus 6 and then minus 7. So it means what are we going to get? We're going to get 3x plus x, which will just be 4x. And then 6 minus 7, that will basically be minus 1. So we have expanded there, and we have also what? Simplified. So we are done with the first one there. So if you have any questions, feel free to just unmute yourself and then you can ask. Otherwise, we're going to move to number 2. So number 2, there we'll just expand. Okay, we're just going to expand. So let's do that. So we have 3x minus 5 and then x squared. So what are we doing here? We're expanding this x squared to the minus 5 and also to the 3. So x squared multiplied by 3x. Okay, it will be 3x multiplied by x squared. And then I'll say minus this 5 multiplied by x squared. So what do I get here? I'm going to get 3x to the power 3. So remember the rules for the exponents. We said if the base are the same, we can easily add their powers. So this one has 2, this one basically has 1. So I'm adding 1 plus 2, no wonder I'm getting 3 there. Okay, and then minus, this is just a constant multiplying x squared. So I'm going to get 5x squared. So here I've expanded, okay, and there's nothing much I can do to this expression, okay, because they're telling me to expand. So we end here. So this one here is the answer on the second one. Okay, so I'll give this one to you guys. So you can try out this one and then you can share your solutions with me. I'll be able to guide. So you can try out this one. Otherwise, I'll go to the fourth one here. Okay, so I'll skip the third one. I've given you as an exercise. Okay, let's look at this one here. So this one has 5 minus 3 x squared plus 2x minus 5 plus 3x squared. So what are we going to do here? Okay, so I'll leave this 5 the way it is, but I'm going to expand, okay, this 3 here to whatever I have inside here. So here, be careful with this sign, okay? So if you just be multiplying 3 with whatever is in this side, you better put whatever you get in brackets so that you can later on multiply by 3, okay? But if you don't want to do that, then you'll be expanding with this minus 3. Okay, I'll be multiplying minus 3 multiplied by this, minus 3 multiplied by that, minus 3 multiplied by this. Okay, so I can use the first one that I said. So I said I'll just multiply by 3. So this negative has remained here, right? So I'm going to say here, I can put brackets like that. And then I say 3 multiplied by this, I get 3x squared. 3 multiplied by this, I get plus 6x. 3 multiplied by this, I get minus 15. Because 3 multiplied by minus 5 is minus 15. Put this in brackets like that. And then plus 3x squared. Okay? And then there now I can multiply whatever I have in the brackets with a negative. So it will be 5 negative multiplied by this, I get minus 3x squared. Negative by that, I get minus 6x. Negative by negative, I get what? Positive 15. And then plus this, x squared. So now here, let's group them. Okay. So let's group those that have x squared together. Okay. And those that have x's together and those that have no x together. So I'll start with the 5 and 15 because I can see they have no x. So I'll put 5 plus 15. And then I'll go to this one with the squared. I say minus 3x squared with this one, which is plus 3x squared. And then I also have minus 6 here, which is just alone. Okay, so what do we get? 5 plus 15, I get 20. And then here, these things are the same and they have opposite signs. So they cancel out. So here I'm just going to get a 0. So it will be 0 there and then minus 6x. Okay, so this one here is the answer for the fourth one here. So we have expanded and we've what? Simplified. Okay, so what I did here is basically the same things that you do here. Okay, so I'm also going to leave this one for you, and I left that one for you. So you can try out those two, and then I'll solve this last one here. And then we can move to questions on factorizing. Okay, so now here on the last one, we have minus 2y squared, 5 minus 7y plus 3y squared. So we want to expand here. Okay, we want to expand. So we're going to use the same trick that we've been using. Okay, we're going to distribute this minus 2y squared to the 5, okay, to the minus 7y and to the 3x squared. So what do we get? So minus 2y squared multiplied by 5, okay? And then I can say plus, okay, and then in brackets, I'll say minus this multiplied by minus that. Okay, then I can also say plus brackets. This is also multiplying with this. Okay, so this is what I have. So it means here to be minus 2y squared multiplied by 5. So this 5 will just multiply with a minus 2. So I'll get minus 10. And then the y squared is just the way it is. Okay, and then here to be minus 2 minus 7. So that would be positive 14. And then y squared multiplied by y, I just get y to the power 3. Okay, and then here I have minus 2 multiplied by a positive 3. So that will give me a minus 6. And then this positive multiplied by minus 6. It's just going to be minus 6. And then the y is now, I have y squared multiplied by y squared. So I get what? Y to the power 4. Okay, because this and this are the same base. Remember our rule, we add the powers. So no wonder we get 4 here. Okay, so it means this is basically our answer. So we can write it in descending powers. We can write the one with the highest power first. So it will be 6y to the power 4. And then I have this one plus 14y to the power 3. And then I have minus 10y squared. Okay, so this is the answer there. Okay, so we have tackled all the questions for expanding. So I don't know if there are any questions there. You're free to ask. Any questions there? All right, let's move to D. So D here, we're just factorizing. Okay, so they're saying factorize each of the following expressions completely. Okay, so factorizing, it depends on what you've been given. Okay, depends on what you've been given, the method that you are going to use to actually factorize. But for factorizing is actually the opposite of what we've been doing on the previous question. So in the previous question, we're expanding. Okay, we're getting whatever is outside the bracket, we're trying to distribute it into the one inside the brackets, right? So factorizing now, we're trying to pull out something that is common between the terms that we've been given. Okay, we're trying to pull it out. So it's like we're taking it out of the brackets. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing here. So you see that the technique that we are going to use, okay, may be different depending on the expression that you've been given. So the first one here, we have x y squared minus x squared y. So we want to factorize this completely. Okay, so the first thing is to take a look at these two terms here. What is common between these two terms? Okay, we see that this one has 1x and 2y's. This one has 2x's and y, 1. And 1y, I mean. Okay, so it means this one has x, this one has y. Even this one has x, this one has y. So xy, okay, is the expression that is common between this and this. So the expression that is common, I put it out. So I'm going to say this, I should put an equal sign here. This is equals to, okay, since xy is common between this, I'll say xy, and then I'll open the brackets now. So in the brackets, if from here I remove xy, what am I going to remain with? I'm just going to remain with the y. Okay, and then here, when I remove xy, I'm just going to remain with x. So this minus sign follows, and then here when I remove xy, I'm just going to remain with the x. So when you factorize something, make sure that if you try to expand it, it will still give you the same thing that you had. So if we expand this with this, we still get x y squared minus x squared y, which is what we had. So it means this, our factorization here is actually what? Is actually correct. Okay, so that's how we can factorize the first one there. We just take away the xy, which is common between the two terms, and then write whatever has remained in the brackets like that. Okay, okay, what about the second one? So second one, we have x squared plus xy plus xy squared. Okay, so here again, we're just looking for whatever is common between these three expressions there. Okay, so what is common here is x, okay, because I can see x here, x here, x here. I can't say xy because the first one here does not have any y. So x is common, okay, and then when I take away x from here, I remain with x. When I take away x from here, I remain with y. Plus, when I take away x from here, I remain with what? Y squared. Okay, so this is what I have as my factorized expression. Okay, so we can also factorize this part inside here. So we can say this is x, okay, and then this is x. And then here, I can see that I have y being common between these two expressions. So I can say plus y, okay, and then here I'll just remain with 1 plus y. Okay, so this is what I get. Okay, so this expression here is factorized completely. There's nothing that has remained that is not factorizable. We factorized it completely. Okay, so that's what we write. Unless there are any questions. Okay, so if there are no questions, I'll proceed. Okay, so now we've solved this one and this one. Okay, so the idea that we use here and there is the same as the idea that we should use here. Okay, and this one is very simple. So I'm going to leave this one for you to try it out. Okay, and then I'll go to the fourth one, me. Okay, so the fourth one has 6 minus 5x minus x squared. So this equation, the way it has been given there, we immediately identify it as a quadratic equation. Okay, so when factorizing a quadratic equation, we have a number of ways in which we can do it. Okay, one, we can factorize using complete the square. Two, we can factorize using the factorization method. Three, we can factorize using the factor method. Okay, so the one that is very simple is if you're factorizing, the one that is very simple is the uh, completing the square, but we're not going to use that today. Okay, we're just going to use the factor method, the one that you know. So the factor method requires that we find our product, okay, our factors, and our sum. Okay, so now what is the product? Okay, so the general form of a quadratic equation should be in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c. So this form here is the general form of a quadratic equation. Okay, so when you're finding the product, you are multiplying the coefficient of x squared, okay, the coefficient of x squared with the constant c. Okay, so we can write product is a multiplied by c. Okay, and then the sum is just two numbers, okay, such that when you add, okay, they will give you uh, this term in x there, okay, and then when you multiply them, you're going to get c, okay. That's what we do. So now let's look at this equation here on top and first write it in this form. Okay, let's write it in a standard quadratic. So I'll write it like minus x squared minus 5x and then plus c. So what is the product here? We said the product is the coefficient of x squared multiplied by what? C. Okay, or the constant. So it means my product to be minus 6. Okay, to be minus 6. And then what two numbers, okay, what two numbers can I add such that they give me minus 5, but when I multiply them, they're going to give me a 6. Okay, so that's the challenge when it comes to this method. Okay, so you have to think fast. Okay, so two numbers that I can add to get a minus 5 and multiply to get a positive 6. Okay, what numbers can you think of?
minus 6 and positive 1.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So exactly. Okay. So we're going to use the factors to be minus 6 and positive 1. So you see that when I add minus 6 plus 5, I get minus 5, which is this sum. When I multiply them, okay, when I multiply them, I get this product. Okay. So the sum is minus 5 there. Okay, so let's do that now. So what we're going to do now is minus x squared minus 5x plus 6. We're going to replace this minus 5 with the factors. Okay, so it will be minus x squared, and then this minus 5x, we write it in this form. So I'll write plus x, and then minus 6x, and then plus 6. So you see what I've done here? I've written the minus 5 in terms of x minus 6x. Okay. And then from there, you just have to group. So I'll group this one with that one, and then that one with this one. Okay, and then from there, we factorize what is common in this bracket and also in this bracket. So here, what is common? Okay, what is common here is we can even take out the minus x. Okay, so we can say minus x is common. So it means what will remain here will just be a positive x. And then if I get a minus x from this, it means here I'll just remain with a minus 1. So that when I expand back, I still get this. Minus x multiplied by x, I get back this. Minus x multiplied by minus 1, I get back this. Okay, so that's how it should be. And then here, I can also factorize the minus 6. So it will be minus 6. Then in the brackets, I remain with x minus 1. So now here, an important thing to note is that what is in this bracket here and there should always be the same. Okay, when you are factorizing a quadratic equation, what is here and there should always be the same. So whatever is in the bracket should be the same. If it's not the same, it means you are wrong somewhere. Okay, so now when you do that, you can now say that since this is the same, I'll take it out as x minus 1. Okay, and then you combine whatever is outside there. Okay, so it will be minus x and then minus 6. Okay, so we have factorized this guy completely like that. So if you try to expand this, you still get this answer. Okay, so you should try it out at your own free time. Try to expand this, you still get this one here. Okay. All right, so if you want, you can also express this answer as you can factorize the minus 1 from this bracket. So you are going to get minus 1, x minus 1, and then x plus 6. So you can write it in this form or that form. There's no problem there. Okay, let's take a look at the fifth one. This is this one. Okay, so the fifth one is x squared minus 2x minus 35. So we want to find the product, the factors, and the sum. Okay, so the product is 1, the coefficient of x squared multiplied by the constant minus 35. So I get minus 35. The sum is the coefficient of x, which is minus 2. So now I'm looking for two numbers such that when I add them, they give me minus 2. When I multiply them, they give me minus 35. Okay, so anyone who can help us with the two numbers here, what do you think are the factors?
-7 and +5.
Okay, amazing. So -7 and +5. So when I add this, I get minus 2. When I multiply them, I get this. So I'll write here -7 and then 5. So now I'll rewrite this minus 2x in terms of the factors. Okay, so it will be x squared minus 7x plus 5x minus 35. So you can see that this minus 2x is basically this guy here. Okay, so from there I'll group. So this one and that one, that one and that one. And then I factorize whatever is common here and whatever is common there. So what is common here is x, and then the brackets remain with x minus 7. What is common here is 5, and then we remain with x minus 7. Okay, so you see that well, whatever I have in the brackets is the same, right? So it means you are correct there. So now I'll pull out the 7 minus x minus 7, I mean, which is common. And then this one, okay, I'll write them as a sum like that. So we have factorized completely there. Okay. Okay, so I think even this one is a quadratic equation. Even this one is a quadratic. Okay, so I can leave this one for you to try. Even this one you can try. And then let's try to solve this one and that one. Okay. Right, so let's solve this one here. So this one is 2x to the power 4 plus 4x squared plus 24. So when you look at this properly, okay, you can see that it's just it's a quadratic equation, okay, that has uh, a special variable. Okay, so we can say here the first thing to do, Okay, the first thing to do here, we can say, um, let's take out the 2. Okay, because I see a 2 is common between all these numbers here. So I said 2, and then in the brackets I have x to the power 4 plus 7x squared, because I'm taking out the 2, remember? And then here, when I take out the 2, I remain with 12. Okay, and then from here, I notice that what I have here is x to the power 4. So what if I write it in this way? Okay, I say x squared and then to the power 2. Okay, and then I say plus 7x squared to the power 1 and then plus 12. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is make this a quadratic equation with the highest power being 2, but currently it's 4. So I want to make it with the highest power being what? Being 2. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use what we call as the let method. So I'm going to let x squared, okay, be equal to a certain new variable. Okay, let's say u. Okay, so I'll say let u be equals to x squared. So wherever there's x squared here, I'm going to put just u. So it will be 2. Okay, where there's u here, I mean where there's x squared here, I'm putting u. So it will be u squared. Okay, and then plus 7. Where there's x squared here, I'm putting u again. Okay, and then plus 12, like that. Okay, so that is what I have there. Okay, and then now let's try to factorize this guy here, because this one is just a simple quadratic here in terms of what? U. So I'm going to say product, factor, and then the sum. So the product is 12. Okay, and then the sum is 7. Okay, so do we have two numbers such that when we multiply we get 12, but when we add we get 7? Anyone?
Uh, positive 4 and positive 3.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we're going to put 3 and 4 here. Okay, so it means what I'm going to have now is this. Let me erase this part. Okay, so I'm going to have 2 open brackets u squared. Okay, and then where there's 7u, I'm writing it in terms of the factors. So I'm going to write plus 3u plus 4u plus 12, like that. Okay, and then I can group them, this one with that one, this one with this one. So what I have is 2, and then here I can pull out what is common, which is u, and then I remain with u plus 3. Okay, here what is common is the 4. So I'll pull out the positive 4, and then what I remain with is u plus 3, which is what we want. Okay, so we see that here and there we have the same things. Okay, so I can pull out what is common. So I have 2 outside the brackets. Okay, I pull out what is common, which is u plus 3, and then I combine u and positive 4. So it will be u plus 4. Okay, so this is what I have. And then I can multiply with the 2. So it will have 2u plus 3, I mean. And then again u plus what? 4. So this is what we have. But now remember our question was in terms of x. So we have to substitute back. Wherever there's u, we put an x. So our final answer will just be 2. Wherever there's u, I put x squared. Okay, remember this substitution that we did. So x squared plus 3, and then there it is also x squared plus 4. So this is what I have there. Okay, so this is factorized completely. Okay, so any questions? Okay, no questions. Let's look at the last one there. Okay, so the last one is 9x squared minus 25y squared. Okay, So here we are going to say what is common between these two. Okay, what is common between those two? Um, First of all, we can rewrite these ones. Okay, so this is 9x squared, right? This is 25. This is 25 y squared, right? So when we're factorizing here, we use what we call as the difference of two squares. Okay, we're going to use what we call as the difference of two squares. So before I do that, I'm going to say, let me write 9 as 3 squared. Okay, and then I also have x squared minus 25. I'll write it as 5 squared. And then I also have y squared. Okay, so from here, I see that we have a common power there. Okay, so it means I can just write 3x and then squared minus, even here I have a common power, so I can write 5y squared. Okay, so once we have this, then it will basically mean that we are done with our question. Okay, so here we're going to use what we call as the difference of two squares. Okay, so if I have two expressions that have squares and I'm subtracting them, you simply apply this rule. So if I have y squared minus, if I have x squared minus y squared like this here is simply, okay, x plus y and then x minus y. So whenever you see there's a difference of two squares, you can rewrite it as this. Just write x plus y and then x minus y. So let's try to expand to see if it will give us this one. Okay, let's try to expand to see if it will give us that one. So x multiplied by x, I get x squared. X multiplied by minus y, I get minus xy. And then y multiplied by x, I get plus xy, and then y multiplied by minus y, I get minus y squared. So we see that these terms here, okay, they cancel out. So what I'm going just to remain with is x squared minus y squared. So we call this as the difference of two squares, okay? So it's exactly that I'm going to apply here because this part here is just acting as the x, this part here is just acting as the y. So what I get here is just 3x, okay, plus 5y, and then in the other brackets to be 3x minus 5y. Okay, so that's how I'm going to factorize this one here. So any questions there on what we've done?
I wanted about like after we got the answer. Is it mandate to start with the positive bracket, or you just start with n, or you start with the negative, or you start with any bracket,
Oh,
yeah, with any sign?
all right, so you can start with any. If you want, you can write it as 3x minus 5y, and then 3x plus 5y. So it's the same. You've gotten it. I've said the order doesn't matter because you are multiplying. Okay, remember 3 times 2 or 2 times 3, both of these will still give you 6. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you start with the negative one, okay, and then the positive one, or the positive one and then the negative one. It doesn't matter. Okay. All right. So any other questions on
Okay.
expansions and what is that? Expansions uh and factorization. Okay, so if there are no questions, I think I'll end here. Okay, I'll end here for today. But videos to all these other questions, okay, I will upload them on the website and on our mobile app. So if you don't have our mobile app, just inbox me your email address. You can find my contacts in the link below. Okay, and then I'll be able to add your email. You can download the app. So as I said, I already solved question 4. Okay, so I already solved question 4 and question 5. So the videos for those are there on the website. All right, so have a blessed night.